I mentioned the Jofo podcast, and there's and that's a true one hit, brother. I'm a one take every day, brother. That's what you're gonna get every time, brother.
Fuck. How am I going to start this?
Oh, you're forgetting your opening line.
No,
right?
no.
Wow.
No, I don't have an opening line. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's because you're a moron. I don't have an opening line. We go over the whole thing. We talk about it. We're on the air. Are we on now? We're on now?
We're always on.
We're really starting the show
always
like
rolling
this.
right now.
Wow. Okay. Well, folks,
welcome back to Jofo in the Ring. I'm Kyle Morin, Jeremy Prophet.
I'm surprised you know your own name. I'm even more surprised you know mine. Yes, I am Jeremy Prophet, and this is what I have to put up with every time I come in here. But you know what? I do it all for you people because you deserve the best show. And today, that's going to be a resounding topic because our guest is someone that always likes to give the people their money's worth, much like myself. But he does it in a bit of a different way, in a more hardcore kind of way, because our guest is none other than the hardcore hero, the Green Phantom.
Check it out. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here live with the Green Phantom. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here.
No problem, brothers. Always love to chat. What the hell is Jofo anyway? What is that? Just our fucking opinion? Is that it?
That's exactly what it stands for.
And who are the men behind this fucking opinion? Is it always Jeremy Barnyard Barnoff, the Black Russian Prophet? And you?
I'm the rookie member of the staff here. I've been lending my expertise to these guys, but they're the pioneers. You know, Kyle, and we got Bruno behind the scenes. We got Frank Jofo himself.
Yeah.
You're Kyle? I'm Kyle.
Yeah, I'm Kyle. And we got Bruno, our producer, in the background. You don't see him, but you'll always hear him.
What's up, Bruno?
What up, what up, what up?
And Jeremy's sitting in for my co-host, Frank. He works on a boat, so he's taking over for us.
On a boat. I bet you your usual co-host doesn't have pipes like this guy. Look at those arms on the Prophet. He looks like $1 million. Someone call a plumber, baby. These pipes are bursting.
Well, for those of you who don't know the Green Phantom, that's pretty much what you can expect. That same level of energy, intensity, comedy as well. Something you're familiar with.
I love comedy. Love me some comedy.
Well, you kind of get the whole package with Green Phantom. You get the entertainment, you get the violence, you get an outstanding character, a crazy guy in a mask. He's really one of the most talented and diversely talented performers in all of Quebec wrestling. And he's also one of my rivals, but also someone I've been really good friends with from, way before I was anybody in the wrestling business. So someone near and dear to my heart.
Putting me over hard there, Prophet. Thanks.
Hey, that's what I do.
Hard is going there. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. And I can't disagree with any of that stuff. Get it with the green, baby.
I love it. All right. Well, let's get into it.
So, I mean, for those who are not familiar with you, Phantom, maybe you could tell them a little bit about yourself. So, what are some of your highlights in the wrestling business?
Well, I've been doing it now for a little over 20 years, popping crowds and breaking tables for all that time. There's a lot of highlights, there's a lot of things that have happened that I never expected or thought would happen when I first got into this game. And being able to work in packed buildings, these venues that I used to go to as a kid, or even now still to go. Well, not maybe now COVID, but these great venues that I go watch shows at, and then all of a sudden here I am performing there, and then to see my childhood dream, which I never thought. I really never put much thought of it, but I would have, if you had told me right now that when I'm older, that I would be on TV, wrestling, and people see me around the world, I wouldn't have believed you. And now it's just it's a fantastic dream. Obviously, there might be loftier things that did not come my way as an indie wrestler, but on most scales, starting out, I would have never believed where I've been and what I've experienced and who I've worked with. It's just been a crazy, wild ride. You want specifics, having hanging out with Jake the Snake in my basement. Having a great match with Sabu and chilling with him for a while after. And then both those men, seeing them in pictures later on down the road, and they're wearing a Green Phantom shirt. That's pretty cool, Having Beefcake cut my hair was something. I wasn't actually masked at that point. And every time I turn on the TV and I see myself, or every time a fan buys a shirt in the UK or some shit, I'm just these are all highlights, man. These are all highlights.
Well, definitely over the course of 20 years, you've had an incredible career. It's taken you to many different places, a lot of audiences, a lot of great matches, a lot of those involving me as well. We've been in the ring, I'd say at least a good 20 times or so.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the very.
You actually are the last match I saw on TV was about a week ago. I was battling you.
Oh, well, look at that. And we've had many
legit TV wrestling stars, baby. And that's not just in Quebec on RDS and RDS2, but around the world on the Fight Network on Friday nights. And in the UK for a while, I saw the standings. We were the number 2 wrestling show out there, especially in Ireland. I don't know if I had anything to do with that, getting with the green, baby. But these are wild things, man.
So we've talked about what we've been doing lately, but let's step it back now. Let's go back to the past, because we want to know the origins of the Green Phantom. We want to know how you got your start in the wrestling business. I know a little bit about the story, but I think that the people out there, they would really like to hear how you first got in a wrestling ring and how you first got people's attention, more importantly.
Well, the wrestling thing, man, it's a long story. But the whole mask thing, what's underneath the mask? Why wear a mask? It's none of your fucking business. No, I'm kidding. I'll tell you. So basically, I went to see the first show, which is the WWS at the time. I was listening to the radio. I was driving in my car, and I heard Mike Patterson screaming on the radio about a crazy hardcore wrestling show. And I just wanted to check it out. I was a wrestling fan as a kid. I loved Hulk Hogan and all that jazz. I was a huge fan as a kid. And then I just kind of stopped watching it. But then I got turned back onto it with the NWO, with the original ECW, Japan stuff that I started getting exposed to, like exploding ring stuff and tables and all that shit. And I'm a lunatic already, so it just attracted me. Like, I want to blow up my fucking self up in a ring. I want to smash through some tables. I love that shit. And so I at the same time I was getting into it, I heard about this wrestling show and I went to see it. And right away I saw Manny there, who I actually knew from when I was younger. We used to party together, and that's one of the reasons that I went to the show, because during the radio announcer, the radio ad, they said, and PCP Crazy fucking Manny's gonna be there, and I'm like, I know PCP Crazy fucking Manny from back in the day. There's no way he's a wrestler. But then at the same time, who else would have that fucking name? So it must be him. So I went to see it, and what do you know? boom, bam, it's PCB Crazy Manny. I saw him get hit with chairs and fly into some tacks and get bloodied up in his head. And then I saw Sexxxy Eddy get powerbombed with some chairs. And I'm like, fuck me, man. I want in on this. It's like a Remington microblades. I loved it so much I bought the company type shit, right? So right away I went to see Manny after, like, hey man, remember me? Yeah. He like got me hooked up with a trainer, TNT, Anthony Tonin. Thank you, brother. He brought me and a couple of dudes, Arsenal being one of them, into a gymnasium in Laval in the basement, and just started taking bumps and teaching basic shit. I might have this like might come back later. Some people questioned my technical skill, and the truth is I never really focused on it that much. I find I can definitely improve some technicalities, but that really never was that style anyway. I'll drop a fucking elbow drop better than most motherfuckers, but I might not be able to do a twisty twist wrist lock, and that's all good with me, brother. I don't care if you want to judge me on that, as many people do. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So then I got trained with TNT. And the next IWS show or a WWS show at the same time, I hooked up with some gym mats at like my day job, and I supplied the gym mats for the ring for the show. And so the way it was set up, it wasn't a real ring, if you will, because the ceiling was way too low. It was this dingy bar. It was a Peel Pub show bar / Wally's, whatever you want to call it. And we just had ropes around the roof support posts, right? And then put gym mats down, and because I was hauling the gym mats, somebody backed out at the last minute, so they threw us in right away. And I just happened to have a green wrestling mask that my girlfriend at the time gave me because she went on vacation and brought it back just as just a joke or whatever. Amazing that she brought a green one. I mean, that is the key to everything. Later on that night on this wrestling radio show, they were talking about this green guy. What's his deal? He looks, I was always tall and whatnot. I didn't really go to the gym back then, but I was always tall and rough and tumble kind of guy. And I call in the radio show, and they're like, well, I'm like, this guy's crazy. He's a lunatic. He's going to kick everyone's ass. And then they're like, well, what's his name? And to that point, I never even gave a thought to it. So of course, getting with the green verbal diarrhea, Green Phantom, boom, that's it. And there's the origin of my name and how I started wrestling.
Well, that's quite an incredible story.
Yeah, no kidding.
I kind of knew parts of it, but there were still some things that stood out there that I didn't know about. I didn't know that Green Phantom was just an ad lib, was something that you thought of right on the spot. Let me ask you this on the spot. If you could go back in time and you could choose another name, would you choose something else, or would you stick with the green?
I might have a gimmick where I wouldn't have a mask, because I think it's been a drawback in many ways, and like the superstars I've hung out with, I remember having dinner with Kevin Nash, and we're talking, man, the guy is really nice. He bought me a steak dinner, and he was super apologetic the whole time about how he used to treat people and stuff. Anyway, so and one of the things he discussed when he found out I wore a mask, he was like he's really shocked. He's like, "You're a really good looking dude, and you shouldn't." And by that time, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, it's too late. I'm already selling shirts. I already have fans and stuff. I can't really lose the mask. And I never really got around to losing the mask. But guys like Mick Foley, another guy, he's like, you're way too pretty. You shouldn't be doing this. I remember we're like sitting at the Muppets. I went to the Muppets with Mick Foley here in Montreal, and like I look at him, I'm like, Mick, you look like a Muppet. You should probably be up on that stage, with his big hair and stuff. And he's like, you look like a model. You should never put a mask on, brother. Anyway. But the green, the green is something that is, I always say, the green chose me. I didn't choose it. And it's a perfect example. Like, it was the green mask that got brought to me. My real life hardcore environmentalism. Get with the green, baby. my real life Irishness. My family, we celebrate that stuff really hard, There's the envy of everyone around me. Let me tell you, brother, I live a pretty good freaking life, And then, some people might associate getting with the green, if you will, too, So like I said, it chose me. So would I choose something else? I don't think I could have. I think the way it happened, it was fucking destiny, baby. Green destiny.
This is Frank Jofo for Jofo in the Ring, and we would like to take this opportunity to share with you our sponsor, Balboa Bakery. If you're in the mood for fresh baked focaccia, an array of sliced cold cuts and cannolis to die for, and of course, the finest Italian products known to man, look no further than Balboa Bakery. Go the distance with Balboa Bakery. Located at 102 Saint Jean-Baptiste Boulevard, Local 52 in Chateauguay. Here we go!
And take it from me. I mean, you see him now with the mask on. I've seen him without the mask. In fact, I've unmasked him.
Look at you! Ain't I a hot piece of shit?
I've unmasked him on a few occasions, and the first time I did it, my thought was, "Wow, this is actually a really good-looking guy." What's he wearing a mask for? Even I was hit by that.
It moved.
That's something. So, one guy you brought up in your story, and it's becoming a running theme on our show, is when we talk to wrestlers, is to get their favorite Sexxxy Eddy story.
Ooh, the Sexxxy Eddy, the Sex Express, everyone's sexual fantasy, the sexual hurricane, the tornado of cock, baby. That guy's the best. What story? Geez, I don't know, man. We've been on so many road trips together. My King of the Deathmatch tours in Kentucky and stuff. Tournament of Death stuff, and with CZW, always with Eddy, and honestly, normally, like, oh my god, normally you get my match in. Perfect example, my match with Necro Butcher. People talk about that to shit like all the time. Whenever I go to the States, especially, or fans order shit from the States, it's always they talk about me versus Necro. You gotta check that out. It's pretty violent. He broke my nose. I hit him. I've never hit anyone harder in my life in wrestling with this aluminum crutch with light tubes on it. See, he had just broken my nose and was really reckless with his garbage pail swings. So I just got up and I fucking biffed that motherfucker. And so people always talk about that match. Now, great match, super violent. I mean, it was a little bit rough for me. I have to say, it isn't sustainable, if you will. But I'm a rough and tumble. I'm always up for a good fight. I'll wrestle anyone, anytime, any fucking where. I don't care. Anyway, having said this, everyone was talking about match of the year. But then, followed by Eddy and Eddy and Arsenal, and of course Eddy being Mr. Rubber Band Neck, at least especially back then, and also wrestling pretty much naked, doing this deathmatch shit. He had his infamous where his bicep was bleeding and it went into his mouth. And he like drank his own blood, so he fucking stole the show. Where I did a show stealing match with my nose broken. I thought it was like amazing, and then they stole my thunder. But all like the power to them, man. It's fantastic. So,
well, I'll throw in my 2 cents on this, because I watched that Tournament of Death, and what a lot of people don't realize is that show as a whole opened a door for a lot of great talents here in Quebec, and probably inspired a lot of people here to want to become wrestlers, because they could see that people from here can go onto an American stage and steal the show.
Yeah.
And hang and bang. And I tell you, you're right, Prophet. Thank you. I think more these young guys maybe need to realize that. At the time, I went out there and I put on this hell of a match with Necro Butcher, so they knew that people in Canada, especially people in Montreal, and in this case, especially me, we can hang and bang with the best of them, baby. No backing down. Bam, boom, getting with the green. And it was a fantastically physically challenging experience. And I have to say, most people in Montreal would not, or really most people anywhere, can't hang like that. Can't hang like the Green Phantom can and a few others. But yeah, we went out there and proved that we were a scene, that IWS was something to reckon with. And as soon as they put eyes on us because of my match with Necro and Ars and Eddy, right then they looked to us, and then they saw Kevin Steen, then they saw El Generico, and so it opened the floodgates. I mean, no doubt Kevin Steen and El Generico would have made it anyway, because there's just such superior talents. I know this from wrestling, the way they feel in the ring and stuff. It's just extraordinary. They would have probably made it anyway, but we definitely sped up that process. Because instantly the American eyes were on it, and the indie scene, they were cued in, and boom, bam, right away. They saw them. They had an amazing match. The next show in CZW was like a 4-way. I think it was Steen, Generico, XS, and Eddy, and it just stole the show. Everyone's like, oh my God, these guys from Montreal, they can really go. They can really hang. This is the shit. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And this is something that we talk about a lot here on the show, and it's how we have such great talent in Canada. Maybe the best talent anywhere in the world, the best untapped market of talent, guys that could be main eventers in any of the top companies. And it's unfortunate that the scouting isn't here seeing what we're doing on RDS, on Fight Network, to be able to, give us the exposure that we deserve, to give us the platform where we can perform. I bet there are more people out there who know of the Green Phantom from what you've done in death matches, in Tournament of Death, in King of the Death Match in the United States, than all the extensive matches that you've had here, all of these underground matches that we've had in places like Drummondville, in places like Quebec City, in places like Rouyn-Noranda, like when we went up there.
Good time.
And that's something I've been trying to get out there, is that we have such great talent here in every category, and people aren't paying attention. The powers that be in wrestling don't realize Quebec and Canada as a whole is a gold mine, because they have guys like Green Phantom, like me, like Mike Bailey, who we've had on, like Hannibal, like pretty much any guy in IWS. I mean, it's a pretty freaking talented roster of people that we get to work with there. And I mean, what are your thoughts on that, on what you've done in the States versus what you've done here, and how your fans receive that?
Well, I mean, for like sheer number, like whenever for wrestling, like in Montreal, I always get, we pack our houses here, and so the reaction is just unfucking believable. And so it's fun to get recognition outside the States. Like whenever I go to the States, I always get some people, but it's nowhere near as popular, or at least on the local circuit, than it is here. And I'm way more known, it seems, in Montreal now, because I'm often on TSN 690, Showm and whatnot. So I have some few friends who support me, whether it be Mitch Melnick or Mitch Gallo or Sean Campbell, these type of people. So I on the English market, the English media, I'm definitely a figure here in Montreal, which as the wrestling wise, the only time where I think the big numbers are here in IWS. In the States, with the deathmatch stuff, it's more of a, how would I say, like a DVD culture. I know that dates me. It sounds old school, but you'll notice a lot of death matches. There's not many people there. I know GCW has kind of up the game with that, but for the most part, you see a lot of what I would call kind of trashy, ugly kind of looking death matches, where there's like, it's outdoors and it looks shitty, and so there's not many people at those shows, but it's the recognition you get later online. Like I said, I mean, the Necro Butcher, there's a couple of clips there online that just, every few years it recirculates, it comes back, and yeah, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm more known as a deathmatch guy just because of my stuff with Necro. And here in Montreal, even though I started out with the Fans Bring the Weapons and Exploding Ring and all that shit, I think there's still some people who in Montreal that see that I'm not just a deathmatch guy. I feel I'm not sure if I answered your question there. I just kind of went off.
No. I mean, really, the point I was trying to make is that you've done all this good work here, and realistically, in the United States, for example, someone does the same thing, they get noticed, they get picked up by one of the bigger companies.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's as if their eyes are not on Quebec or not on Canada. And it's something that I bring up time and time and time again here, that we're at a disadvantage. And if it were an equal playing field, if we could, legally go to the States and wrestle, have the chance to perform on that kind of a stage and audition, they'd be blown away by what people here in Quebec can do.
I agree, man. And I've been seeing over the years a lot of emulation of what the IWS has been doing. Not just me, but specific moves from me, specific moves from other people that got pioneered here and then got exported to the States because of someone else watching our shit. I mean, sometimes flattery or
imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Exactly. It's flattering, but at the same time, like you said, I want to be noticed for that, not Joe Blow. Like the first thing that comes to mind is apron moves. Arsenal did a DVD 2K1 to Eddy on the apron. I never seen apron moves before. I'm sure there was here and there, but after that, and then we went to the States, and then apron moves just became this huge fucking thing. It's huge. Like now these apron moves, for example, all kinds of devices with chairs. I'm not saying I don't want to stretch that they're all my original ideas, because I was heavily influenced by Sabu and some Japan stuff, but definitely no one on the indie scene was doing what we were doing, and then it got emulated, and other people might have got noticed. I always felt, like every successful wrestler feels that he should, be in the spotlight or given, more whatever it is, because you believe in yourself if you're good, and I know I'm good. So at some point, I wish I'd have gotten the rub or the push rather than this guy, But that's life, man. It hurts sometimes to be skipped over and someone else get it. I can name a million people that whether some bullshit ranking system in some book or whatever says that this guy's better than you, even though you've wrestled him and know that you're totally better than him. But it's just perception, and in the end, wrestling is just about perception anyway. At least good wrestling. So it's like sometimes a bitter pill to swallow, but we're just doing our best here, man.
That's a fair point, but it's never over till it's over, and even someone at your age now, considered still young in the wrestling business, when you look at
best shape of my life, brother, best shape of my life.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's never too late. Chris Jericho's 50, PCO is 54, Billy Gunn's 58, Sting's 61. These are all full-time wrestlers.
Flair's
now.
80 and wants to be cleared.
Yeah, and I don't think that should happen.
No,
but in the last little bit, because of my age, I'm sure, even in IWS, I still support them to the 100%, but I haven't necessarily had mmany victories in the last little while. I've become, I don't want to say fodder for the young guys, but I've totally at my age I should be putting people over, but I also think that maybe there's a champion in here. I look good with a fucking belt, baby. Green and gold go so well together, baby.
Maybe it's time for the Green Phantom to make a statement.
Well, that's it. I would say any promotion that would want to put a title on me or give me a push, that's in their best interest, because I always pop the crowd. I always have fans, and I make it look realistic, and I make it intense, and I make it a real experience for anybody who's watching my matches. Usually at some point, oh my God, did he kill him? This type of shit.
And believability and toughness are two things that seem to have gone by the wayside in a lot of places. And IWS, hey, I got to call it out. Looking at the roster, looking at the champions, other than myself, of course, but looking at the roster and who some of the champions are right now, toughness, durability, believability has kind of gone to the wayside a bit. And you kind of come from a generation in IWS where that actually meant something. And I know you and I have a lot of conversations, and I'm a pretty outspoken guy. You're a pretty outspoken guy. Maybe that's why we sometimes, most of the time, see eye to eye. I, for one, think that should be an important part, an important criteria of someone who's going to be representing a company in a championship capacity. What are your thoughts on that, on the sudden disappearance of toughness, durability, believability, and credibility?
We're on a wrestling podcast, so we're gonna put ourselves over, of course. Whenever you see a guy like Green Phantom stand beside, a guy like Matt Angel or Kevin Blanchard, the layman would let's say if the layman was a betting man, they would put it on the big, tall, muscular maniac rather than the flippity dippity gymnast. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a different style of wrestling. I mean, the believability has to be increased, I feel, in some ways. Like who's done that well is a guy like Mike Bailey, example, right? He was a little boy when I first started wrestling him. I had no problem telling him that, and he knew that too. So he worked on his look, made it, and also he grew up, turning more to a man, but got tried to gain some weight and worked out to have that believability factor, even though he came from what I would consider.
Why are you laughing?
Just the way he said it, that he became more of a man. It's hilarious.
He's one more achievement than you.
That's true. I'm still working on it.
What would you know about becoming a man, brother? Not much, I think. Yeah, right, Prophet.
I deal with this all the time. I'm used to this insubordination.
He won't let us cut his mic,
but do continue.
Yeah, so I'm again, like you said, I'm from the old school. I feel like you should be able to back up. Even though it is a work and it's wrestling, I feel that at least in the old school way, at any point, even though it's a work, you should be able to back up that work. You know what I'm saying? But again, it doesn't really matter because it's gone more Hollywood than anything, and that's fine. I'm just from the old school where is Bruce Willis really tough? No, I could fucking beat him, but if you watch Die Hard, he's the toughest motherfucker in the world, right? I don't want to call anyone's name out anymore, but is this champion here really, really tough? I mean, next to me, I would say no. But honestly, I'll say it about anyone. I think I'm the toughest motherfucker in Quebec wrestling, maybe Canadian wrestling. I play rugby. I've always been a smash mouth motherfucker. I was a rough and tumble growing up, always getting my lip bloody. So I don't give a shit. There's so many fake posers around out here. If wrestling did become a little bit more real in that sense, I would have my way with these big fat motherfuckers or these muscle bound motherfucker over here. I don't give a shit, but that's that old school mind frame. There's a bunch of good performers and the crowd likes it, which is cool. I don't have it much against it, except that it doesn't play into my wheelhouse. But there's plenty of wheelhouses out there, brother. Whatever is successful. Well, but as a wrestler, you always want to be the one getting pushed or whatever if you want. But them's the cards we're dealt, brother.
And believe it or not, that's him being as politically correct as I've ever heard him be. I'm a bit of a politically correct guy too, maybe 10% of the time. Yeah, but in this case, no, I can't take the high road on this because I do think what makes wrestling good is that diversity of characters. You can't just have an entire show. If you go to see the circus, you don't want to see a whole show of trapeze artists. You don't want to see a whole show of lion tamers. You don't want to see a whole show of clowns. No. You need that intermingling of that. So, why is it that we don't see Green Phantom get a shot at Mad Angel, in a one-on-one match, in a hardcore match, any kind of match? Why don't we see him get a shot at Kevin Blanchard? They should have to face this kind of adversity. A true champion should be someone that can get in the ring with just about anyone, from the guy who does the opening match on the card to the guy who's been main eventing for years, and be able to have a great match with all of them. I've never shied away from anyone. I've never ducked a match. I've never ducked a fight. This man, to my knowledge, has never ducked a fight or an opponent. So I think that it should be the same for everyone. You want to be in a company, you got to fight the best just as much as you got to fight the rest. And that should be status quo for everyone.
And I would say it's like not even the fact of being a champion you should do that, but just to be able to call yourself a professional wrestler, whatever the promoter says, whatever opponent he has in front of you, I don't think if you can call yourself a professional wrestler, you can say anything but yes. Anybody who would dodge me, I know a few people have dodged me. I mean, I just lose respect for them as pro wrestlers. You should be able to hack it, especially that especially that I know for a fact that I don't hurt people. Whoever wants to dodge me, it's because really in the end they're marks. Because I'm so believable. Because in real life I actually am maybe a little bit crazy, but I'm safe crazy. I don't everything is within reason. There's so many. I mean, wrestling is a work in itself, right? There's some people who are working all the time. A few of your past guests are working every fucking bullshit sentence out of his big fat mouth is a work. It's a work, and whoever believes it is a mark. For me, the work for me is the mask, is the Green Phantom, but everything behind that is oh so fucking real, baby. That it really sometimes it intimidates people, but it's also my selling point. And if it intimidates people, I think they should find another profession because the crowd fucking loves me, and that should, in the end, all that matters, right? I sell T-shirts, I sell tickets. If you're scared to work me, then maybe you should reflect and realign yourself with what you should as a professional wrestler. Because I've had 5-star matches with many performers. I've had superstars like a Sabu who actually told me he liked working with me, not the lies that big fat motherfucker said. I hung out with him after that match. He called him a joke. He called him, what was this? He just felt there was something up with him. Sabu felt that he was working his ass. That's how fucking bullshit he is. Anyway, on to other things. There's other people who I've worked with, whether PCO, Jake Roberts, these people who are Sheamus, Kevin Owens. I mean, he's like not a fan of my technicalities, but he knows I can pop a crowd. These people who are the real champions, the real success stories. They know the truth about me. The fans that buy my shirts and cheer me and throw the streamers and go crazy. They know the truth. Whether a lot of the locker room doesn't know it anymore or forgot it because it's a whole new generation. In the end, that's their problem. There's nothing really I can do about it but be who I am, and what I am is a fucking ass kicker, man. That's just the truth of the matter.
Well, I can speak for myself in saying that I clearly have never had any issue stepping in the ring with you, and that's not just you. That's pretty much anybody. I'll fight anybody because this is what we do. Yeah. And many a times we've been paired up, and I kind of think it's because a lot of people are a little hesitant to get in there with me for a lot of the same reasons that you say. I think about the many times we've fought at Heavy Montreal. A lot of great memories, a lot of good matches. Always had great matches at Heavy Montreal. I think some of those you can see online. But I really feel like with the amount of talent that would be a part of the Heavy Montreal production, and I mean, there were tons of people there, a lot of great wrestlers. It was always kind of strange to me that we'd end up always facing each other. And I really think it's just either there were a lot of people didn't want to work with me, or a lot of people that didn't want to work with you, and they just said, oh, well, we'll just put these two guys together because they never say no. And it kind of bothers me, but I mean, part of it is it's being a wrestler. It's being a professional. It's being able to say, I don't care who you put in front of me, I'm going to get the best out of this person, and it's going to be good. I just wish everyone would have that mentality and not say, well, I'd rather just, get in there with somebody I know well, or somebody I feel like I can. I
don't understand it. I think people no sell it sometimes. Like whoever would want to duck me. It's like I don't understand the logic. One, you call yourself a professional wrestler. Two, hey, do you hear the pop that guy's getting? Don't you want to be involved in that shit? Who the fuck are you, man? Don't you want to be involved in that shit? This guy's an icon around Montreal. He's somewhat a B-list celebrity in Montreal. He pops these crowds. He sells those tickets. Don't you want to be involved with that shit? What the fuck, man? Anyway, I'm swearing a lot tonight, eh?
Hey, again, Jofo. That's what it stands for.
Indeed. Now, you touched on a few things there just before. You were very, very outspoken about a previous interview that I wasn't here for. So I guess I'm going to have to ask you to kind of elaborate on what you're talking about people working people.
Well, there's some people who are fake ass bullshit, right? And everyone, especially in this game, there's a certain level of bullshit, right? There's either you're really full of shit or you're just full of shit, one or the other, right? Now that's part of working, right? This is the gimmick. This is wrestling. You have to put yourself over. You have to garner some attention in some way, But there's some people that even when the camera's off, they're working you hard, And one of your previous guests, he runs a wrestling school, right? And I mean, he just every word out of his fucking mouth is just layered in bullshit. I mean, there's half truths in there sometimes, but I mean, from my experience, I mean, the guy, you just can't trust the word he says, and and this is coming from his former students. There's a reason why he doesn't repeat. Like he doesn't go to places over and over because they don't want anything to do with him anymore. They realize his scam. They realize that the jig is up. Yeah, he's a good enough wrestler. He's technically sound. Whatever. But as far as everything else goes, he's fake ass shit. I mean, when I wrestled him, I brought him out. I made him a little hardcore. I don't want to say it made him what he is, but I because of IWS, we put him on another pedestal. And because I went hardcore with him, brought him into Green Phantom's world, he took a bit of that with him, and maybe even took I would say maybe a bit too much credit. But I don't want to talk about him too much because literally I'm putting him over by talking about him.
All right. Well, hold on, Kyle, here, because this clearly escalated well beyond where I thought that this would go. Again,
you're just going after it because a few years ago, I'll tell you this: a few years ago, we were wrestling at CRW, and the professional that is fucking Rodney Kellman. After the match, he didn't like what went on, and so knowing that there was a bunch of fucking people around, he made this show and spat on me, right? And then we had a little tussle, and the little bitch that he is, 300 something fucking pounds, I took him by the collar and I had him up, and I could have fucking beat the living shit out of him in front of everyone. But you know what? I'm not going to cause trouble in the backstage like he just did. I was just kind of defending myself. And once everyone stepped in, funny thing, Franky the mobster, dressed as a priest, was one of the guys in between us. So it was a great scene. And then I just sat down and went about my business. And he, carried on with his bullshit for a little bit. He did. At one point, he wanted to talk to me about it, like a bunch later when he's booked at another show. But it just shows the heart of a man. I could go into personal stories about my day job, how I got him a job, and then he just no-showed. It just he wants you to think he's your friend, and he's never. He's always working. He's always on a work. No matter what he does, he's a. I mean, in wrestling, it is a work. So I mean, part of me kind of respects that he can rip off so many people. But the thing is, he's burned so many bridges. No one in the Quebec wrestling business respects him at all. They just know him as a scammer. And that's all I can say about that.
Well, I got to play devil's advocate here because look, I can't throw in with you when someone's not here, and it just wouldn't be right. I know you guys have a colorful history. I know that you've been friends. Like you said, you tried to get him a job and whatnot. You guys have been a tag team. I've been involved in some matches with you guys where you were teaming. You were doing good business together. I think you guys were a good team. What went wrong to drive this to such a heated level of hatred?
I mean, it's not really hatred, honestly.
Well, it sounds like hatred.
I kind of pity him. I mean, like he must be so alone. Like the fact that his life's a lie, everything's a scam. It's kind of pathetic, honestly. I don't know. I would have no problem doing business with him again. I thought we had some great matches. I agree. There was some really cool. Good feud going on there when I put him over for that belt. There's another thing. This guy talks about professionalism, all this bullshit. I always thought that a true champion, you can show and you can see the true champion how he goes out, not how he goes in. Because how you go in, it's fucking easy. You're on the top of the world. You just won. That's easy shit. That's easy to be a good sport about shit. It's how you go out. And this guy, when he lost his title, he was such a bitch baby. It's just so unprofessional the way he didn't respect anything. And as soon as he lost that title, he's gone. Tried to start up CWA, that joke of a Fed. And it sucked at the time because we were trying to unify this. It was like Montreal's ECW, and instead he went to be, again, he's out for himself, working himself, trying to get money off. At this point, there was Eddy or whatever. He split, went to CCWA or whatever, and they had a little run. It basically just took out of his crowd, maybe took a third away from it, and all the French crowd went with there, and so it just hurt to see. More than trying to expand it, it was just out for himself. Which, again, I mean, what are you gonna do, man? Some people, I mean, you can't hate on it too much for trying to get ahead. It just sucks that to get ahead, you gotta step on other people, and maybe that's just the way of this world. And I'm old school, but I don't think you have to be working everybody all the time.
And I mean, for me, knowing these two, I've been in cars with you. We've traveled up and down the roads. I've traveled with Rodney as well. I kind of have a similar relationship with both of you guys. Obviously, I haven't seen him in a couple of years. You I see much more often, and we've worked together more often. But I find there's a lot of similarities between you two. And
yeah,
I always say that. I mean, because you're very different wrestlers, but it's as if, like, if you were both creator wrestlers, you'd have the same number of attribute points, just distributed differently.
Yeah.
I've seen shows where audiences take more to you. I've seen shows where audiences take more to him. You're both talented.
It was never a show I was on, brother. That's for sure. Never a show I was on, because I always get the loudest pops or close to it, man. Especially if it's anything in Montreal, whether it be IWS or Battle War or whatever. I mean,
but what I'm getting at is that is you guys have been, and I have maybe one or two people in wrestling and even in life where it's like this, where we get along, we don't get along. It's I hate them, but maybe I'm the problem, they're the problem, and you kind of go back and forth on it. All that to say, are we so far removed from you guys maybe being able to bury the hatchet, maybe to see eye to eye and respect each other?
I just said I'd work them, no problem. I'm not going to buy into that Mark bullshit, But I'll work anybody. Honestly, I mean, I might sound like I'm a little harsh, but besides him being unprofessional and attacking me, it doesn't really affect me much in the sense that. I don't. It riles me up because I'm passionate about wrestling and I'm passionate about IWS and stuff. But in the end, he's just going to do his own thing. And if we cross paths, I certainly don't have a problem with it. It's all good by me. I mean, there's other fake people in every single job I've ever had. There's other, there's people working people in like other professions besides wrestling. He's just one of the workingest, if you will.
It sounds to me like you might need to do another interview or so with these guys.
I mean, I feel like we have to.
Honestly, can we talk about someone else, man? I don't want to talk about this guy. He's a joke, man. Just look at his. Let's talk about someone else.
Fair enough. I mean, so okay. So we can change gears here. You mentioned a lot of career highlights. You mentioned working over in the UK, going to Ireland, I believe.
Yeah.
And you had a great match with Sheamus.
Yeah, Sheamus was a prince, man, out there. We worked when you work with guys who are destined to be on the top, you can feel how they move, man. Like I think of the when I work with Sheamus, or even the last couple times I've worked with Kevin, they just have a certain smoothness about them that you kind of feel it, that they're kind of on another level. And and all these guys too, or Sabu even, they're on another level, and they always were super gracious with me, and they took all my moves, and we all had great matches. You can kind of feel greatness. It's and Sheamus was one of those. I remember, I remember hitting the Phantom Menace in this town called Kilkenny, and the crowd thought I killed him, and it was fantastic, you know. And then she ended up coming back and beating me, but it was, and we got backstage, and you know, he's like, man, that move, the reaction was amazing. He thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, you know. And it just shows a perfect example to what we were talking about before. I don't want to, you know, kill too much Mark stuff. I like to keep it kayfabe, but at the same time, I want you to appreciate my talent, if you will. And something like the Phantom Menace looks like a fucking killer move. It looks like I'm killing the guy, but I'm as safe as shit on that stuff. I'm safe as shit. It's an optical illusion. And if you're scared of that, like you're scared of me, you're a mark through and through, baby. And that's okay if you're a fan. That's okay if you're Kyle on this podcast, but it's not okay if you're Jeremy Prophet or any guy out there, you know?
And now, speaking of safe and scared and these kinds of things, another memorable moment from your career that I was not there to see live in person, but I've watched the video many times over, was when you tossed Manny out of the balcony. I think that was still at the medley. Obviously,
I didn't toss him off. Like I got tossed off that balcony a couple times, but at that point, I think you're referring to.
Oh, you DDT'd him.
I DDT'd him. Yeah, I was spinning DDT. He didn't take quite well, so he almost died. But if he had extended his legs, he would have been a lot safer. But in the end, it's all good because no one got hurt and we're good.
You see, Bruno, that's a clip you probably need to find to show the people, because he gives him this DDT, and it looks like Manny. I kid you not, looks like he lands right square on the top of his head, through tables and the floor.
Over pretty good. It was probably one of the most extreme spots I've ever done. I mean, I was very confident going into it because I envisioned it. But it's pretty fucking crazy going off a balcony through a bunch of flaming tables. That's with another man's head in your arm. You know? But I love that shit. I would love to do that shit more. I haven't had the opportunity, unfortunately, to do more of these balcony drops and whatnot, because I love doing that shit. What scares the shit out of me, but I love doing it, you know, lying on a table and have some motherfucker like a Sexxxy Eddy jump off a balcony or jump off the top rope or whatever threw me in the table. It's such a rush, man. I tell you, man, it's scary, but it's rewarding. You know, it's good times. Those crazy spots.
I think we have the clip up ready. If you want to just take us through the clip.
Can you say it? It's just get with the game. Here we go.
Jesus Christ!
It looks like his head just smacks right off the ground there.
You see him kind of. Oh my God!
He flipped it over. Basically, he and then most of the down got absorbed from those tables and he pushed over. Basically, he took from the two tables onto the ground, which is, I mean, it's a best case scenario in many ways, because really what we're trying to show is that these two men are fucking dead. I honestly, I feel a bit I'm betraying the spot by telling you guys that we didn't get hurt on it. I should say we almost died, you know, this type of shit.
We'll edit it out.
But no, it's
that's the art of professional wrestling.
No, I know.
It's making it look like they killed the guy without actually killing him.
Those fucking tables exploded. That was insane.
Well, we're two big men at the time. You know, just like now, 240 pounds. Just Manny around the same thing. You know, it's 500 pounds coming off a balcony. You know, it's bound to explode some tables. Thank God it did. That's what broke our fall and saved our lives. You know,
and it takes a whole other level of courage to do something like that, to go through with it, to have. And I, you know, I'm sure that you having done this so many times, you're accustomed to it. But I can imagine that once you get up there in that moment right before you have to go, there's probably a little bit of doubt that creeps into your mind, but at that point, the spotlights are on you. You got to go. There's no holding back.
For sure, man. There's like a certain amount of butterflies, and even on the way up the stairs, I remember I hit Manny with a stool or something, and I kind of knocked him, and he had second thoughts. He's like, "Dude, I don't know if I want to do this," and I just powered through it. I'm like, "No, we're going, motherfucker." You know, I mean, but I've always been like that. I've been a bit crazy, you know, in my youth and whatever. I you know, playing rugby or football or what the fuck ever. fighting as a youth. I was always down for a sucker for punishment, a sucker for rumble tumble. Let's see where our body lands type shit. I ain't no fake tough guy like a Franky the Mobster or some shit. I could actually back this shit up. Yeah, I dropped that name.
Wow. All kinds of smoke on tonight's episode.
Jesus, he came ready. I love it.
Yeah.
And you've been in a lot of extreme matches, hardcore matches, death matches. Why don't you tell the people out there about the fans bring the weapons? Like, 'cause I feel that's really pushing the bar as far as it goes. When you can have just about any weapon show up and be used in the match. Fans bring the weapons. Tell us about the magic of that.
And that's why we encourage people to go see these local independent shows
shut up,
too.
Kyle.
Though.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Yeah, you punch him in his mouth, Prophet.
He knows nothing about fans bring the weapons.
That's why I'm saying people need to watch these shows so they can learn about it.
Fans with weapons is something that IWS really innovated in Canada. We had heard about it, but there's no way anybody knew about fans with weapons in Canada. And we had our first one at the Scratch. I don't know, by now, 18 years ago, some shit like that. And it's basically a glass festival, and it was like nothing you've ever seen before. Just absolute carnage. Men brutalizing each other, it was on a level that has never been seen in Canada. And from the range of weapons, like if you name something, I could say we used it and there was glass on it. There was nothing that wasn't brought to these matches. And the last few, no exception. I guess the volume of weapons on the last couple might have decreased as our wrestling has improved. But still just crazy ass shit, light tube log cabins and skewers and glass and fucking you name that shit, man. It's been bashed on us and pierced our skin.
And
good times, man.
And you may have the record for having appeared in the most fans bring the weapons matches.
Maybe, but
either you or Manny.
I think it's probably Manny has that record. One thing I do have though, nobody in Canada has broken as many tables as I have. I am the Canadian table breaker. One of the reasons you cannot find, or it's very hard to find, wooden tables in this fair city, in this great province, is because I fucking broken them all, baby!
And another little known fact that most people don't know is my actual first match in the IWS, my only match as Jeremy Prophet, in fact, was against the Green Phantom. This is going all the way back to, I believe, 2007, maybe 2008. And in that match, you did, in fact, put me through a table. But all that aside, I always appreciated that you went to bat for me to get that match, because there were a lot of people that didn't want me there at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you're like you touched on before. There's for some reason we have this bond that there's some people out there who look at us in the same light, in some light that they don't want to work with us.
Well, in my case, it's racism, but
yeah, maybe. There's different elements who view upon us. Maybe we're strong-willed. Maybe we're just too tough. Maybe we're intimidating in real life, and that's why these marks maybe shouldn't be wrestling. As I said before, we have that bond that there's certain people we rub the wrong way. There's certain people that don't want to work with us for similar reasons. But it's all bullshit because I mean, sometimes I've told you you've been pretty fucking stiff with me, but it still doesn't. I still wouldn't hesitate to step in the ring with you at any point and kick your fucking ass.
As has happened on occasion, it's give and take, but that's what makes the best matches, when two guys are willing to beat each other's brains in and know that we're doing it for the fans. We're not doing it for any other reason but to give them the best show possible. In a lot of ways, you got to check your ego at the door, and sometimes it's good to go in there with somebody that can push you to another level and bring out the violent side, and you can do it for each other. But at the end, you're doing it to give the people the best show possible. Yeah. With that said, you've been in a lot of memorable matches, a lot of memorable opponents, a lot of memorable spots, but you've also had a lot of injuries too.
A lot. I mean, it depends how you measure a lot. I had to reconstruct my left knee, for example, but and I broke my elbow and broke my nose and my left testicle crushed and a bunch of scars and stuff. But honestly, over 20-something years, I really don't think it. When I think about it, it's really not that much compared to what I've done. You know, my injury ratio per match is pretty low, if you will. You know, and you know, when you're falling through glass or barbed wire, you know, you're gonna have to expect to get a little nicked up. You know, and I had no problem with that. I wouldn't take anything back. And when I had to have my knee reconstructed, it changed who I was inside and out. I was down for almost over a year there, about a year, and I just reevaluated a lot of things. And you know, I came back like a phoenix out of the ashes, brother. I got the front page of the Gazette. All kinds of hype, just everything. I came back roaring, and you know, I would just hope that maybe in the future a little bit more people would recognize that. But that's such as the plight of every wrestler, man. We always want a little bit more recognition. You know, everyone's looking towards the new guys, the young guys, and maybe they see that I've been around too long, maybe in their mind. But if you look at some of my matches, I'm having some of my best matches of my life right now. You know. So the competition is really stiff, and maybe I'm too stiff.
Well, I think that you know, you shouldn't let those things bother you, because at the end of the day, if the people are reacting the way that you want them to react, you know, you don't have to advocate for any of those things. The people will do it for you, and then it's up to management. Are they going to listen to the people or not? That's how I've always looked at it, is that if I can go out there, do my job as well as possible, you know, my boss is not always the guy who's paying me the money. It's the people who are paying their money so that the boss can have the money to pay me. So if they recognize that we're doing a good job, that's what matters. I know I've shared the ring with you. I think that a lot of people could learn a lot from you. And I think that a lot of people might need to just, you know, not listen to the hype and judge based on what you do, not on what they hear. Same goes for me. Same goes for anyone in our position. But
whenever I see any indie wrestling, especially, I can hang with any of those motherfuckers. The only people that I would have a hard time, I think, keeping up with is some of the New Japan guys. I'm a huge fan of New Japan. Some of these sequences and stuff, I wouldn't be able to keep up with that shit. But anybody who was worth their weight in anything, we could have a great match. I know this from experience and from just my attitude as it is, brother.
And speaking of New Japan, are you still doing the What's Phantom in Japan podcast there with David?
Simon, no, we stopped that a while ago. Just the interest wasn't there, and the time. It was just too much to do, but I still watch it. I mean, I haven't watched it in the past couple of weeks, but like the New Japan, the G1 there is one of my favorite things of the year to watch. That shit is so fantastic, man. And then you see a guy in there like a guy like Suzuki, you know, 53 years old, still throwing it. You know, I look up to that shit. It's great, you know, and it shows that age. To be an age like mine, it means nothing, because I can still hang and bang, rock and roll, and shake and bake, brother.
And now, one thing that people might not know about with you, because I kind of feel that it wasn't made a big deal enough when it did happen, but you did have a WWE tryout. You had some tryouts with OVW, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Jim Cornette and Tom Pritchard were my judges there. Unfortunately, at the time, I was pretty fresh in it. Not that it mattered, but it was what you call the steroid era, where everyone's just juicing left and right, hardcore. And I was in a class with like a guy like Chris Masters, example, right? And you know, I saw this guy inject some pig fat into his shoulders just before he went on, and like this stuff, it blew my mind. You know. What the lengths at which people were willing to do to, and not to mention the pounds and pounds of steroids, were the lengths people were willing to go to in order to get their shot or get their shake. And I had to really reevaluate: is this really what I want to do? You know?
Well, hold on, not to cut you off, but I need clarification, as does our audience. Are you saying that you saw Chris Masters inject, or was this someone else who was?
I shouldn't have said his name. I wish he said his name.
We can edit it. It's okay.
I saw a WWE superstar inject pork fat into his shoulders to have a reaction, so they explode, and then went out, and it just, I made me reevaluate. Like, I'm not willing to go that far. I'm willing to go really far, but not that far. In the end, it's just
doesn't sound very kosher.
Yeah.
No, but like at the time, like it was a steroid era, like everyone was just these jacked beasts. And at the time, I just started going to the gym. So I mean, I was always tall, but I never had the build, you know, at the time. And Jim Cornette brought me aside, you know, when I asked him, you know, what's my deal, because we were there to be evaluated. He's like, you know what, you have the charisma. You could be an amazing manager. Except these days, managers all have big fake tits. Again, the steroid era was all the Barbie dolls, right? And he's like, if you didn't want to be a manager, you'd have to gain about 30, 40 pounds of unnatural muscle, right? So this is what I had to do. And at the time, I really didn't think it would be within my best interest. I still don't. I mean, sure, I would have loved my shot. And, you know, I still think I could hang to a certain degree. But there's just, honestly, at a certain level, I don't think I was ever good enough to be that level. Like a guy like Kevin Steen or a Rami, right? Sami Zayn, they're on another level, not only in their skill, and how they think about wrestling, but also in the nothing else mattered except wrestling. Like, that's it. There was nothing else. You know, later on in his career, Kevin, the other thing was his girlfriend and stuff. But besides that, there was nothing. Like, it was just wrestling. I have a pretty active social life. I play a bunch of other sports. A big part of me is that I really never gave it my 100%. You know, I might have at certain points gave it a 80 or a 90, maybe, you know, but to really be on that level, there's got to be nothing else besides that, you know, to go along with the skill also, and to go along with the politicking. There's just so much that all encompasses that I got a glimpse into that world. And I think I said to myself, you know, I don't think I could ever be on that level. Not that I couldn't hang, but I wouldn't be able to push anybody to like a guy like Kevin Steen. You know, he would almost treat me like a broom handle. You know what I mean? To a certain extent. I mean, I might be selling myself a little short, but you know, these guys, they're just on another level. But let's say I went to AEW, I could totally hang and bang with any of those guys. I know I could. I have. Some of my greatest matches have been with some Dark Order. Brody Lee was another great match I had. You know, wrestling him, he's another example. Wrestling Brody Lee, like, the guy was just so slick and soft, and when we were wrestling, it was just felt so smooth. You know, they're on like I said, a kind of another level. We still had great matches, but I knew that they were better than me. You know. Whereas I don't usually get that anymore. I haven't wrestled someone, you know, this guy's way better than me. It hasn't been a long time. I would say a lot of youth don't necessarily respect what I can bring to the table, my knowledge, and, you know, instead they mark out for me or whatever. But I don't want to go over that again.
Oh, we like that you're outspoken. You know, it brings a certain something to the show. And if you were any different, you wouldn't be who you are, and you wouldn't be such an attraction. So
there you go, man. Well, it's like I said, I bring a lot of realness to it. You know, I don't talk behind anybody's back. I always been very straight up with someone. If someone has a problem with it, unfortunately, a lot of times, you know, the truth hurts, and people don't like the truth. Some of it, people find you too opinionated. You know, I'm sure, I know, in fact, that you felt this as well. You know, people don't like that you expose them. People don't like that you could kick their ass. You know, people don't like that. Oh, you cut a good promo. Oh, but it hurt me. Yeah, because it's a good fucking promo. Damn it, right? People are so goddamn sensitive when they're the marks for it. You know, it sucks that there's so many marks that I have to work around. You know, instead of they don't leave the marking to the crowd. They bring it backstage, which really sucks. You know, it hurts. It hurts my career, I would say. You know, really.
And like you said, that's the politics. And I guess to a certain extent, you have to be a master of politics to stay on top. You know, you can sometimes get to the top on talent, but to stay on top, there needs to be a certain degree of willingness to backstab those that are coming up. Maybe before they backstab you first. Who knows? Take it from a guy who's never really been a politician. I've just looked at it as, hey, if someone's on top, that just means I got to work harder on every aspect of my game. But not everyone has that mentality. A lot of people like shortcuts. A lot of people like injecting the pig fat into their shoulders. So
there's people that have I've heard that Green Phantom, your only success is with IWS, and the only reason that is because you're friends with Manny. I mean, it is true that I'm friends with Manny, but I've been one of the builders of IWS, and yeah, it might play a role in the sense that he knows me, but I've earned everything I've got in IWS, and still to this day, man, I pop that crowd and I sell those tickets, and I'm a positive exposure for them. So there's nothing, there's no work about that, But as far as politicking goes, I've never been good at it because, an honest politician is not a successful politician, brother. And that's just the way the world we live in.
Ain't that the truth? Jesus. So we talked about how you got into wrestling. What started?
Jesus? Did what's his name? Dave behind the camera? He said Jesus?
No, that was me. I said Jesus.
Good job, brother. Because I'm the hardcore Jesus. Testify, baby. I've been crucified left and right. I got nails through my hands. I've been bleeding from my sins all my fucking life, baby. But you know what? I'm here to absorb your sins, brother. I'm here to take this entertainment back, brother, and to pump those crowds and keep wrestling this night away, baby. Next question.
It's no surprise that he's such an enthusiast about that, because he's actually one of the biggest Christmas enthusiasts too. Further adding to the green, because you compete almost every year. This year, I know we've been locked down by coronavirus, but the Christmas tree match, which I've been in a couple of those with you too.
Well, you know what? There's your first mistake, Prophet. Okay, it's not called a Christmas tree match. All right, it's called a hardcore holiday match. We want to be inclusive here, motherfucker. You can't just say it's Christmas all the time. Why can't it be a Hanukkah match? Why can't it be a Kwanzaa match? It's a hardcore holiday match, brother. Yes, usually there is a Christmas tree involved, but there's been a dreidel involved as well. All right, brother. So get over that.
That wasn't even in the one we did.
I feel like a Festivus pole would do some damage too.
Say what?
I said I feel like a Festivus pole would do some damage.
Yeah, it might. I would love to bash a Festivus pole over someone's face. But the Christmas tree, I've administered a phantasm, which is one of my finishing moves, to many a dude through a Christmas tree. Prophet, I think maybe I got you with one. Is that possible?
I may have been on the receiving end of the phantasm on the tree. Yeah.
But don't worry, you're in great company. Brody Lee's been taking it as well. Bucks Belmar, a bunch of people.
Eddy.
So you're Eddy for sure. You're in good company there.
Especially now.
Now, we gotten an Eddy story from him yet?
Oh, we asked him before, and he said that Eddy ended up stealing the show after he had a 5-star match.
Well, Eddy and stealing do go together, as we've heard on here.
that is very true.
I can vouch for a lot of that. I can think of one time. I know you might have a story of your own, but I can think of a time involving Eddy, my bag, and many alcoholic beverages, of which I've never drank in my entire life.
I remember at CWA, me and him packed your bag with the booze we were stealing because no one would suspect you. It was great.
So I was going to question the guy that looks like that about stealing shit.
Yeah. See, I couldn't, skin color notwithstanding, but I can remember the way that this went down was the show had ended. I had worked the main event, and I was out, just talking with fans, maybe, signing some 8x10s, whatever it may be. And he comes up to me and he says, hey, we got to go. And I'm always, it's well known, I drag ass when it comes to leaving a show. It always takes a long time. And he's like, we got to go. So, nothing I'm not used to. And then he says, it's all good. We packed your bag. Everything's good to go. I'm like, wow, what great friends I have. They packed my bag for me. Okay, cool. Let's get going then. And I don't know if you want to take it from there. Maybe once we got back after the drive.
Well, we just emptied your bag, and we all went. Me and Eddy went on our merry ways. A lot of my favorite Eddy stories have really almost nothing to do with wrestling, so I don't even want to bring them up here. We're good friends outside of the ring, and we have a good time together. He's one of those guys. How I'm maybe hardcore outside the ring as I am in. He's also Sexxxy Eddy outside the ring. Let me tell you, he's the tornado of cock. He's Mr. Sex Express, Sexxxy Eddy. You know, he's fantastic, and he's one of the. You Prophet were at his wedding, and you're one of the few, wrestling people that were at his wedding, and he's just one of the most genuine dudes. I just love that guy to death. You'll never hear a word of a lie out of Eddy. Everybody loves Eddy, and the fact that he loves giant tits is just something he celebrates, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's super honest, and he's just fantastic.
Yeah,
Sexxxy Eddy, woo!
For those of you who are fans of The Office out there, I always kind of say that Green Phantom and Sexxxy Eddy, they're kind of like Michael Scott and Todd Packer.
Oh shit!
With Phantom here being Todd Packer.
Really, eh? Well, we've been in probably the guy I've been in the most matches with is Eddy. I wrestled him. You mentioned we wrestled at Heavy FTL for years before we wrestled Heavy FTL. Me and Eddy main evented like a few years in a row, and obviously IWS, all kinds of road trips. We wrestled together. It's been a wild ride. If anybody's going to complain about me beating them up, it should be Eddy. Because man, we've been through some hell. Let me tell you.
I'm sure he has on occasion, but he complains about me too. So it is what it is.
But he'll complain, but he still won't back down, man. He's the best. He's Sexxxy Eddy, this fucking Sex Express with a heart of gold. I love him.
And he's got a whale cock.
And he has a whale cock. I forgot about that, right? Yeah. What a fantastic angle that was. Only in the IWS will you see something that is truly entertaining, truly groundbreaking as a whale cock. Let me tell you. No one else would have the balls to do that. It's fantastic.
And also, just going back to what you were talking about earlier, how like people do spots in the indies and then you see them on the TV. Io Shirai lately just did Eddy's move, the garbage can moonsault off the top of the cage.
Yeah, the stupid salt, we called it. There's no way he did. I mean, maybe there's not no way, but I highly doubt that guy or someone didn't see him or tell him about it, that didn't come from Sexxxy Eddy Sex Express. Mm-hmm. He literally did that 20 years ago. Literally 20 years ago. Even now, I don't want to toot my own horn, but here we are in wrestling. Lance Archer, he's doing a version of my Phantasm. I've only seen anything close to that in Japan. In like Japan, I've never seen anything close to that. I can't read that.
It says Io Shirai is a girl in NXT.
And she's doing it?
That's what he just said. Yes.
Yeah, she's the garbage can moonsault off.
Yeah, she's doing garbage can. I know that. I know that. I'm saying for my move, the Phantasm, I've seen a move called the Iconoclasm in Japan, where these cruiserweights were doing something out of the corner, like the guy would jump off the corner and then flip over and kind of sit down like I do. But Lance Archer, he's been doing it a long time. He's been wrestling a long time, but I've only seen him use the what I call the Phantasm in the last year or two. And I would love to have a conversation about it with him. Where he saw that, where he learned how to do that.
Yeah, well, I got to confess to you, Phantom. When he and I had our match in WWE back in 2010, I actually told him about you. Told him it'd be a great move, and I think he kept it ever since.
You're serious?
No, I'm not serious whatsoever. No.
All right, I was gonna say.
But it wouldn't be unbelievable in this day and age of wrestling and plagiarism and people just copying things.
And you copy, but you try to put your own spin on it as well. You're supposed to emulate it. Like I said, I kind of took the Phantasm a little bit from the Iconoclasm, but I brought it to another level. Where I just support the guy on my back. No matter who it is. Like I've even given the Phantasm to 300-pound pieces of shit. I've given it to 7 feet tall guys. I've given it to everyone in the book. It's something that I've pride myself on, a move that I've innovated and that I could do to anybody. pretty proud of that thing. So who knows where he got his influence from? I mean, I was backstage not so long ago with Sami Callihan, example, and he was saying that he was watching old IWS stuff, and it really influenced them on what to get into and how to get into wrestling. And I was like, wow, you never know who you touch and who is watching your shit. Especially, I mean, if you're a huge wrestling fan, you're going to try to consume a bunch of stuff. And if you've been a huge wrestling fan and try to consume a bunch of stuff in the past, 20 years, you're going to come across our shit. You're going to, and some of it is, especially back in the day, it was unique. These new things that are going to be copied and changed and improved upon or whatever, altered for whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, especially back then. I remember seeing moves in the WWE because I was a big WWF guy growing up, and then I found ECW at one point, and then I just saw all of their shit, and I was just like, oh my God, this is insane. And then slowly you'd see like those watered down moves trickle into the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved, example, like a pile driver. I love that shit to death. When I first saw Bret Hart do it, I thought it was fucking the fabulous move. Paul Orndorff, fabulous move. But then like you said, when I saw ECW, then I see Rhino pile driving someone off the apron through a table. It was like a whole new level. My mind was blown, and I'm like, this is shit I want to do, And then really, I just started doing it. This is
like Tommy Dreamer when he used to do the Death Valley Driver or the Tommy Driver, drop him right on his head, and then a couple years later, you got John Cena slowly, gently laying them down nicely on their back.
It's not even the same move.
No, it's not even the same anymore. No. That's another guy, man. Tommy Dreamer. That guy was a real pleasure to work with. That guy could still go, man. I know. Remember he came up to IWS. He was in a tag match again with me and Eddy, of course, and he did it, man. He rolled. He even though in his advanced age he didn't have to, he still took his bumps and got his pops and moved as good as ever, man. All the power to that guy, man. And I like him.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys. Him and RVD were one of the first guys that really brought me over to ECW. And then slowly I got to see like the Just Incredibles, and then Bam Bam Bigelow was there, and I was like, holy shit, I remember him. Yeah,
you asked about good moments. One of my favorite moments was RVD. I was just coming back from my knee surgery, and one of my first gigs, if you will, back, I had to pick up RVD at the airport, and as we were talking, we basically came to the agreement that I should come out to him. I should be his Bill Alfonso, if you will. And RVD with his getting with the green, it kind of worked out very well. So I ended up being RVD's manager and tossing him some chairs and stuff. And
and watching him beat up two children in that match.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of do that. It was like I loved Sabu and RVD, especially as a tag team and stuff. So it was like I finally got to work with both of them, and it was a real cherished moment. And more than that, with both those dudes, like outside the ring, we hung. We were on the same wavelength. We really dug each other, and almost all of their out of ring time in Montreal they spent with this guy right here. Not some fake ass faker.
I definitely think we need a follow-up episode, or we need to do our first face-to-face.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, anything can happen in Jofo in the ring.
You know what, Prophet? I mean, for that, I don't want to give him any more airplay. So if you're gonna do that, you have to charge me money. That's about it. And that's all I got to say about that.
I'm not the money guy here.
All right.
We'll talk to our accounting department.
They have a hard time covering my fee.
We came back to this subject again. Fuck that subject. It's bullshit. I'm too real to talk about that stuff. I know I get passionate, but honestly, I don't give a shit about that guy. I know. I'm just a passionate dude. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about.
Well, what got you into wrestling? Like, how were you introduced to it?
As a kid, Saturday afternoon wrestling, and then Saturday night's main event, trying to stay up to watch it. I just, the first time I saw Hulk Hogan, I flipped out. Like, this is something I'd like to do, or sorry, it's not even that was even that level. I loved it so much. I was so enthralled with these huge characters, and then years later, I'll show you an epiphany moment that I didn't realize who I was until I saw this picture. so I grew up again looking at Hulk Hogan like this is guy's like you know, larger than life or whatever. And then I took this picture. I don't know if you can see it. And basically, I looked at myself and I'm like, oh my God, I look like fucking Hulk Hogan. What the fuck happened? How did this fucking happen? And then I realized, you know, I've gotten to a certain level by working hard, and half the time I don't even realize what the fuck just happened like that. Like, you're gonna tell me that's not a body guy? That's not Hulk Hogan under that mask? You know what I'm saying?
I'm putting my thumb over your face, and I can't tell.
I mean, it shocked the shit out of me. I was like, what the fuck, you know?
Underlips?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a recent shot? That's a
that was a year and a half ago or so. You know, so I'm as long as I can keep impressing myself, I got to keep going, man.
So you're basically Chris Hemsworth's stunt double for the Hogan movie coming up.
And maybe, you know, maybe I definitely could be. You know, and hey, maybe with this mask off, maybe I could be Chris Hemsworth. Maybe I beat him out for that role. I definitely would know more about it than him.
I mean, Hogan wore a mask.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah.
He was Mr. America.
Yeah. You get that back when he had that lie detector test.
Great segment.
Jesus.
Now you've also dabbled in a few other entertainment ventures. I know you mentioned comedy. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah. That was super fun, man. Mike Patterson got me into it. He's like, you'd be good. You'd be really good at it. And I mean, I've always kind of admired comedy, and who doesn't like to laugh? But I like to be funny. I like to entertain. But I never thought maybe I had the chops for it, you know. But Mike Patterson got me into it, along with Walter J. Ling, who's actually the first guy that gave me an actual gig. But long story short, working a couple of gigs, I got a 10-day run at Just for Laughs. I never would thought I would be able to do that. It's crazy. I opened up for Jake the Snake a few times to a sold-out crowd, and these are great crowds because they're wrestling related, and they just ate my shit up. You know, it was a really fantastic experience. But I have to say, I didn't really enjoy it to its fullest because, especially on the stand-up scene, I was very, very nervous. So I could never relax. It was good that I had a mask on. The crowd couldn't see that I was nervous, so it went over well. But I wasn't really necessarily enjoying myself. But when I'm in like host or like animation roles, you know, where it's not just a laid out plan, or I mean, a laid out plan is good, but like laid out lines, then I really excel and I relax and I'm fantastic at it. So if ever you need someone to host a banquet, you're looking at the guy right here, baby.
Well, I'm definitely going to call you for that. Actually, Walter's a mutual friend of ours. So
who? Walter J. Ling?
Walter J. Ling. We actually, so you actually might not remember this, but we've met before. We met at a Halloween party last year with Walter there.
And we got kicked out of the Halloween party.
I was the guy who asked you to leave.
You're the guy who asked me to leave?
I was the guy who politely asked you to leave.
What a mistake that was.
Oh,
same ass shit that was. I couldn't believe what we got, the disrespect of that. It was, I mean, I guess we didn't know it, but that was so lame. I didn't even understand what happened there.
Well, that was the thing.
Let's not go on that, man. I don't give a shit anymore. Fuck it. I don't want to talk about it. It was just super lame. But yeah, so Walter, you know, we've had a bunch of shows. I did a couple of roasts with him. I did a bunch of stuff, and we've had many interactions on stage. I've done many of his shows, and he's another great guy. Old Wally, good times. I love that guy. Anyway, so comedy is very much like wrestling. You know, there's timing involved, and your moves are your jokes, and how you execute them is the timing of it. You know. Is a really good experience. Side of my Green Phantom, like my family's pretty musical, and we sing and dance and all kinds of shit. Anyways, I wanted to have some sort of Green Phantom track, and I know there's a fans who've remixed my entrance music with like some of my vocalizations on it and stuff, which is really cool. But I wanted maybe my own song, and so I've been talking to a couple people, and last night I got delivered a beat for one of the Badasses songs that's going to come out in the next year, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what it's called yet, but it's going to be a badass fucking hip hop song. So I'm going to another realm now, brother. It's going to be fucking dope as fuck.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, we've talked about your career. We've talked about a lot of different things. Let's get back to in-ring now. We talked about a lot of the opponents that you faced. Is there maybe one that got away? Like somebody you'd want to face that you haven't had the opportunity to face yet, but they're still going and you still hope that that match can happen?
Oh, there's so many, man. Fuck. I mean, who does The Rock count? I mean, I don't know. Like there's so many goddamn guys out there. Guys that come to mind right away. AJ Styles. I mean, it would be a dream. I would have a boner the whole time if I would wrestle Tanahashi. Example. I would just. I'm in love with that man. I'd like to slug it out with Suzuki. As maybe in a death match realm, I would love to hang and bang with Schlack. I don't know if you know that guy. He's a pretty scary motherfucker. Nobody in their right mind wants to wrestle that guy. But you know what? I want to wrestle that guy because he's big, bad motherfucker, full of blood all the time. But of course, we can't do that, and we can always dream. Who knows? But there's a bunch of guys out there that I would love to work, man.
The more I sit here thinking about everything we're talking about, and especially with the hardcore. I mean, you've got to be one of the most preeminent hardcore wrestlers in all of Canada. Like, I can't even think of.
Oh, I know.
Too many guys who have
there's a reason why I'm called the hardcore hero, brother. Because I've been doing this for forever and popping crowds forever with my hardcore style. Just bringing my game, man. And no one does hardcore quite like me. Especially back in the day, nobody could break a table to save their lives except us in the IWS and me in the IWS. I can break a table like nobody's fucking business, man. I'm a scientist and a physicist when it comes to breaking tables and breaking chairs and using any type of implement. I would definitely say I'm a master of it. And it's surprisingly enough, it's come in handy. Hey, how can you break that table? Oh, I know how I can break that table. It's crazy. Good times. It's like breaking a table is kind of like it reminds me of being a kid and building a sandcastle, but you're opening up the legs, setting it up, and then after you smash it to pieces. That's so much fun.
So, what have you got going on now, though? That how we can find you on the socials?
Well, there's not much going on. Unfortunately, we did some IWS TV tapings. What is it now? A month and a half ago, Prophet? I don't know.
Oh, it feels like it was longer than that.
Yeah, and so that's so that's running on TV now. Manny, I was talking the other night. He said he's good with content till like I don't know, February or something like that. But we always want to do more, right? But unfortunately, this COVID has shut us down. But as soon as COVID opens up again, we're going to be recording some more TV for sure. We have to. We have, unlike any other fucking Fed in Canada, we're around the fucking world. You heard that, everybody? We're around the world. Not some shitty church basement or pretend wannabe us. We are the fucking best. And there's nothing you can say about it. You can diss our show and talk about how it might not look as good as some other shows. But guess what? You don't have a show. And no one else has a fucking show except AEW and WWE and Impact and maybe ROH. But here, no one in Canada has half the success we have. Man, we're the shit. We really are the shit.
We really are.
No, I believe it.
No doubt about it.
I believe it.
I
hear it every week.
We're number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, there you go, man. No one even compares. And the fact that some people even want to compare us when, they have nothing in the range of just something like TV, just something like if you say the letters of your Fed in other countries, people can identify it. There's no other Fed in Canada that has that. There's none. We're just the shit. And I honestly, I guess I feel we should be recognized for a little bit more. But in the end, you can't go on other people's opinions. But you at the same time you have to, because you have to be popular. And we're good enough to have a show around the world, and that's pretty damn good enough for me.
And that's what we're trying to do with this show, is just basically get more eyes on like the shows that aren't as big as like the WWE and ROH. We just want to try to help you guys get as much exposure as possible. Hell, maybe we'll get you that match, hopefully. I mean, I know we're going to make a video out of it and post it and just keep posting it until that guy comes up. Sorry?
What match is that?
You said before there was a match that you needed that got away from you.
Oh, well, I just named a bunch of people there. I don't know.
Yeah, the names. There was a specific one. The name's slipping.
He said The Rock. He said AJ Styles. Then he said
Schlack. I believe it was.
Black. Oh, that's one. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Schlack. Yeah. Unfortunately, with the States thing, no one's even touched that area. Kyle, have you ever been to an IWS show?
I haven't.
Shame.
What are you doing? You're hosting a wrestling podcast, brother. You're in Montreal. You host a wrestling podcast, and you've never been to the IWS. My God, Prophet, what the hell did you get me into here, brother? What the hell's going on? Are we giving him exposure, or is he giving us exposure? Let's be real here, brother.
It's a long-term investment for these guys. We gotta get them on board. We gotta educate them, and then they'll understand the difference between IWS and the rest of the crap that's out there in terms of feds in Quebec.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was always, like I said, I was always a WWE guy. Ever since we started doing the show back in March, I've slowly started getting into the independent scene, and I wish I would have gotten into it a lot earlier in life, just because it's great. It's like
Cool,
people think about it. They think about wrestling. They're like, oh, it's a fucking bingo hall. And it's like, no, even when they watch WWE, they're still not impressed. But me, who's an actual wrestling fan, and I see local independent shows, and they're putting on these matches that could be in fucking WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like,
Tons, man. I mean,
yeah, it's great.
there's a deal that when
A few episodes ago, I actually smacked what little hair he had left on his chest when I gave him a good
Smacked it
shot
off.
to show him how real the business is.
Yeah, we actually, I'll show you the picture one day. You see his handprint just there, like for the next 3 days. I could have unlocked his iPhone with his thumbprint on my chest.
Yeah. Being like the hardcore hero, I would grab like a pool cue and bust it over that cue ball you got there, brother.
Bring it. Bring it.
That'd be pretty good, because then I wouldn't have to wear these glasses because of that glare that comes off your head. It blinds me sitting
We
there.
changed the light bulb for you.
Huh.
It's not environment friendly as much as the other one. So,
All right.
Well, so before we let you go, where can we find you on all the social medias?
Green Phantom 514, Green Phantom on Facebook. I mean, I'm very bad at Twitter, so you can find me there as well. But yeah, just follow that shit and keep getting with the green, baby, because it's real up in here. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Anytime we could do this again, I'm sure we could talk about more stuff and have a good wrestling old time.
You are always welcome back. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Jeremy, I want to thank you, as always, for being here.
As you should, for carrying you and for giving these people something good to look at, because if not, they'd be staring at your bald head. And now it's blinded me. Their screens are probably just, ready to explode and whatnot.
I just wish you'd stop charging me for autographs.
You're just lucky I have this mask on, because I'd really steal the show from both you ugly motherfuckers.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. And remember, wrestling is life.
It certainly is. For life, brother.
For life.